basically you have topics on your tables that Martin and Jason will discuss. So I'm going to introduce them a little bit, tell you a little bit about them. So Jason is a key contributor to the development of policies and tools related to Workplace 2.0, Workplace Renewal, and the modernization of the federal real property portfolio. In addition, Jason is the branch co-lead for Real Properties Branch and the Young Professionals Network. Excuse me. The next person with him will be Martin. For the better part of 6 months, Martin has acted as the face of the network for the NRC, and as the other two members of the executive team, Jessica and Tantram, both telework from Peterborough, Ontario, and Montreal. Since completing his studies, he has accepted a casual term as the project coordinator with the Acquisitions Branch, Professional Development, and Change Management Director. In this role, Martin is an integral part of the team organizing this year's Acquisition Program Week. He aims to provide all AP employees with the opportunity to participate in various presentations, interactive information, and learning sessions. Please welcome Martin and Jason.
Should have gone the other way. Oh well. Bon, ben, merci Soumaye pour ton introduction chaleureuse. Ça me fait plaisir d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui afin d'animer la séance du Café du Monde avec mon collègue Jason. Nous prévoyons que la séance de cet après-midi sera très fructueuse pour vous autres et j'ai hâte qu'on puisse commencer le tout. Cependant, avant qu'on commence, il y a quelques petites choses qu'on doit dire en débutant. Y compris un aperçu de ce qu'on espère accomplir avec la séance d'aujourd'hui, la raison d'être de l'activité et surtout les règles de l'activité.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. So this may come as a surprise to some of you. It certainly was to me. But did you know that the World Cafe activity is actually ingrained into the terms and reference of the Vanguard network? If you think about it, though, it really does make quite a lot of sense. The World Cafe is a tried, tested, and true mechanism for enabling the network membership to provide feedback to the leaders of the network. This enables the network to best support the needs of the members. It allows members to provide feedback on the latest, most pertinent, and trending topics. And that, in turn, allows the leaders of the network to provide the tool, direct their resources and their time to ensure that the tools and resources that the members need are available to them. So before we get started with the World Cafe activity, there's a couple of guiding principles for the discussion that we'd like to cover.
Donc, c'est ça. Nous voulons entendre évidemment tout ce que vous avez à dire, mais il y a toujours la chance qu'il va nous manquer de temps. Donc, si c'est le cas, si tout se déroule comme prévu, nous prévoyons que vous aurez tous l'occasion de partager vos pensées, vos opinions sur les sujets que nous entamerons ensemble aujourd'hui. Mais si pour une raison quelconque, vous n'avez pas la chance de le faire et que vous souhaitez continuer la discussion ou partager votre réflexion avec un membre du conseil avant-garde, vous pouvez venir nous voir, moi ou Jason, ou vous pouvez parler à la coprésidente du réseau Tantram, qui est à quelque part, elle est cachée. Elle vient juste de sortir pour 2 secondes, mais elle est ici. Donc, venez nous voir, on va vous mettre en contact. Vous avez aussi l'option, évidemment, d'envoyer un courriel directement à la boîte générique du réseau. Il y a toujours quelqu'un qui est dessus. Aujourd'hui, c'est moi. Mais oui, il y a toujours quelqu'un qui surveille la boîte, donc vous pouvez toujours nous envoyer des commentaires ou des suggestions à la boîte générique, puis on va prendre ça de là.
So to ensure that we have as productive session as possible, we want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, so we ask that everybody respect the thoughts and opinions of others as much as possible. To that end, we would ask that you refrain from criticizing what anybody else has to say, but by all means, please do take the opportunity to build upon the ideas and the comments of others. What we're essentially aiming for here is an atmosphere similar to question period, but of course without any of the shouting or any of the name calling.
Parfait. Puis en tout dernier, mais non de la moindre importance, on tient à vous rappeler que vous pouvez participer dans la langue officielle de votre choix, que ce soit à la discussion, que ce soit à votre table ou à voix haute lors de la discussion commune qu'on va avoir par la suite. Parfait.
You'll find a copy of the discussion questions on the table in front of you. Martin and I will take a minute to go through them with you before the discussion begins. So first and foremost, on the topic of workplace modernization, which Kevin Radford discussed to an extent earlier in the previous session, we're interested in knowing what your thoughts are on Workplace 2.0, moving past Workplace 2.0 on ABW, and for those of you that don't know, ABW is the activity-based workplace. The concept of the workplace of the future as a whole, the notion of technology and integrating it further into the workplace. Specifically, what are your thoughts on PSPC's initiatives to date, progress to date? What are the gaps? Where could we do more? What more could be done? What are the things that you want to see? Please, by all means, feel free to share any of the personal experiences that you might have had.
Parfait. Notre deuxième sujet. Ouh, je pèse le mauvais bouton. Oh, it's not working. That's not fun. Parfait. Well, et sur votre fiche, sujet numéro 2, ça va être par rapport à la santé mentale et le bien-être. Croyez-vous qu'un nombre suffisant de ressources est offert au sein du ministère afin d'appuyer le besoin des employés? Quelles sont les lacunes et comment peuvent-elles être adressées? Est-ce que les membres du réseau sont au courant de comment accéder aux services offerts et qui sont même offerts pour commencer? Notre troisième sujet, ça va être par rapport à la discrimination dans le milieu de travail. Donc, ressentez-vous que la discrimination est encore un problème dans le milieu de travail? Quels sont des exemples de problèmes auxquels que vous avez fait face et qu'en fait-on, devrait-on en faire, peut-on en faire? Croyez-vous que les ressources disponibles sont assez pour adresser les problèmes qui surviennent et sinon, que pensez-vous qu'il faudrait de plus? Sur ce sujet-là, si vous voulez partager des expériences personnelles, c'est complètement à vous. Si vous ne voulez pas, parlez-en au sens large. Ça aussi, c'est complètement correct. Juste dans la mesure que vous vous sentez confortable de dire une opinion, puis qu'elle soit respectueuse des autres opinions à la table, we're all good.
And so finally, the fourth topic is innovation, strategy, and communication. Again, this has been a topic of interest through the day today. So how do we foster more of it? We want to hear from you as to whether you think that your ideas are being heard, whether you have had the opportunities to share them, if those opinions that you have are falling on deaf ears, who is it that isn't listening? What are the barriers? And what can be done to improve the situation for you, perhaps personally, and for the department as a whole? And, sorry, go ahead.
Time allotment. Parfait. Donc, vous avez 25 minutes. Wow, pas capable de parler aujourd'hui. Vous avez 25 minutes pour discuter des sujets qui sont à votre table. Vous avez 4 fiches, 4 sujets. Écrivez les points larges. Puis par la suite, après la période de 25 minutes, il va y avoir une période de discussion commune environ, on estime 40 à 50 minutes, mais on verra où est-ce que la discussion s'en va. Puis là, par la suite, ça va être le wrap-up de l'activité d'aujourd'hui. Donc, pour arrêter de parler, parce que je suis nerveux, c'est à vous. Si jamais vous avez des questions, vous avez besoin d'aide, moi et Jason, on est là. Faites-nous signe, puis on s'en vient vous voir. Avez-vous des questions? Non? Good? Parfait.
That's it. Go ahead. And then we get, I guess we're on break.
That is always the mission, right? All right, timer's done.
You want me to start it up? Or?
Yep. Go for it.
Is everybody having a great discussion? I hate to cut it short, but we're now ready to hear some of your opinions. So between myself and Martin, we'll circulate it with a microphone. You can also feel free to approach either of the two microphones that are set up in the room. I don't think that we're going to go through the questions sequentially or in any order at all for that matter. So we're looking forward to hearing your thoughts. And the only thing that we would ask is that before sharing your thought, just give an indication as to which question or discussion topic you're referring to. So if we're ready to begin, is there anybody that would like to start us off? All right. Did you also want to maybe state your name and where you're from as well?
My name is Samaya, and I work at the DOB branch. So I'm going to talk a little bit about topic 1, so workplace modernization. I recently got to be able to see what Workplace 2.0 looked like. It was awesome to me. I absolutely loved the idea of having, the little cubicles and a lot of light, and made everything so much brighter, so much happier. I brought it back to, our department, because we don't work at Portage, we work on Iris. So I brought it back to our manager and I pitched it. And her response was, it sounds like a great idea, but a lot of people are against it here. So that's our biggest challenge at DOB on Iris, was getting people to actually want to change. A lot of people don't want to change, and it's kind of frustrating, and I bring it up to them. They like their privacy, they like their seclusion, but at the same time, if it never changes, they're on Workplace 3.0 now, we're still on Workplace 0.0, you know what I mean? We're on a very old, we don't have BlackBerries, we don't have teleworking, we don't have anything. It's literally us in our cubicles on our laptops, 7.5 hours a day. We're expected to do our work and go home, not talk to anyone. So I like Workplace 2.0. I like the idea of talking to people, seeing people, having light, but unfortunately, our workplace is still kind of stuck there, and we're trying really hard to move it forward, but there's all these challenges in the way, so.
Does anybody else? Am I working? Nope, definitely not. Oh, maybe. Wicked, awesome. Does anybody in the room, other than Mark, want to touch on workplace modernization? Because I know he has a lot to say. So anybody else in the room that has an experience either working in a 2.0 environment, ABW, or has some suggestions for Sumaye or anything?
I got the point.
Nick, I should have excluded you two.
It's okay. No, it's I.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, I'm working. I think Emilio was just with us a little bit, and he spoke about one tool that they're unofficially doing in this team. I find it was pretty awesome. So I don't know if you guys know about Slack.
Yep.
Like, so it's an app, and all his team moved to Slack, and now they're able to get like off the record, like communication, discussion going, and getting that vibe of you're not necessarily at your desk, but you're able to communicate with your staff, with your employees. So I found it was pretty cool, and I would love to see it happening.
Cool. Marcy?
Is that similar to the instant messenger tool that we have access to?
It's better.
Wow.
It's available as an app on your phone, so it's really convenient.
Okay.
I've used it elsewhere.
Sure.
When BlackBerry Messenger will be
Right.
You?
Okay, so I'm at the payroll in Miramichi, and we have a 2.0 office, and we're able to, the little cubicle area that I'm in, we were able to adjust our workstation with the 4 compensation advisors that we are, and we've made it so it's an open concept. We all work on the same type of, I work on terminations. So we all work on the same work type. So we're able to collaborate. We're able to say, hey, did you come up with this? Or did you we were able to collaborate more. And also with the 2.0, ergonomically, it's great because you can stand up, you can move, you can adjust your workstation. I go by the rule of the 20, it's like every 20 minutes I move my desk up, I stand up, because at the beginning of the day, you always go in, you're rejuvenated. You're like, okay, I'm at my desk. But by the end of the day, you're like slumped. So by having every 20 minutes to be able to stand and move around and collaborate, you're adjusting your body so then you're not slouching anymore, and it actually has improved like posture and whatnot. So it's a really good concept, and I love it. So I can't wait for the final building to be completed.
Back over to Ori. There you go. All right, thanks. Oop, is it on? Oh, flick it up. Yep.
Yeah. So we were discussing the option of working from home, or at least working from teleworking. And we, based on our discussion, we find that a lot of the management is skeptical, at least at the middle management level, is skeptical about letting their staff work remotely, because there's this notion that they'll be slacking off or not be as productive, and they just generally tend not to be as accepting of teleworking. And we feel that it's important for middle management especially to get some sort of direction from more senior levels that it's all right to let staff, maybe not every day, but at least 1 or 2 days a week, allow them to work from home. And when you have workstations that are built around, having not enough workstations for everybody so that everybody has to work somewhere else, that's a good way to start doing things. But there seems to be a lot of reluctance from management to allow their employees to do so.
Yeah. No, and like speaking from personal experience, that's something I've noticed. I've been fortunate that I've worked with PSPC now for a little over a year. And I, as you heard earlier, I used to be the project support coordinator for Vanguard. And Tantram and Jessica actually teleworked at one point 100%, both from different locations. So I was actually the only one in the NCR. So it was quite demoralizing to have to come into an office every day, especially when I was studying, like still in school, and I was the only person in my office. So me and Jessica, thankfully enough, came to a workable arrangement where, if I had to do, like, if I didn't feel like going in one day because it was just draining to go in and sit in a cubicle by myself on a floor where I don't report to any of the other people that are on my floor, I could do some work from home and I would flip it to Jessica by email, and that was fine. And in conversations that I've had with a lot of other colleagues, they've shared that experience with, it seems to be stuck at middle management in terms of allowing their employees access to telework, be it in a formal agreement or just occasional telework, which doesn't actually require an agreement, for the record, in case you guys didn't know, because I now have telework access as a casual. I don't abuse it. I don't, randomly decide to tell my manager, I'm not coming in today. I'm just going to go home. Like, it's something that's been set up, and I tell him ahead of time when I'm not going to be there. But yeah, that's definitely something that I've heard a lot of And it's a culture change for a lot of middle managers, because I've heard it from a lot of senior directors, that they're 100% on board with telework. They understand the vision behind it. Kevin Radford is one of the hugest proponents of that. Mark, working on workplace renewal, is also big on that. So it's about changing the culture for those middle managers where, again, it's not, because I'm not in my office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, I'm not doing work. It's just, I may be away from the office and I may have irregular hours, but as long as at the end of the day, my work is still getting done, I'm still producing what you guys need, it shouldn't be an issue. But again, it's a culture change thing, right? So I think we have something in the back. Or, yeah.
Hi, well, my experience with Workplace 2.0, it started when I started working at INAC, so at Terrace, and it's very not Workplace 2.0, or well, my floor wasn't. And I started working there in the winter, so I left my house and it was dark. I went to work, no light, and then I left again and it was dark, and I was just like in perpetual darkness for months. And once I moved to PSPC, like the one across the street, like not in Portage, but yeah, 191. It was like a breath of fresh air. There were colors. They were on the walls. There were windows. I could see my coworkers, and really the atmosphere there was very different. People were more energetic at work, and I felt like for mothers especially, they were, because they had a flexible schedule, they were like more invested in their work when they were there, not really worrying about like, stressing that they had to be there for the fixed amount of hours. They could go home, pick up their daughter or son, and then come back or like finish their work up at home. It was very, there wasn't a lot of pressure. And also for me, getting to see the rest of my coworkers, you can tell if they're busy, so you shouldn't approach them. Or you can tell if like they're taking a break, and you can go over and talk to them. And also just like throughout the day, you're feeding off of their energy. So I don't know. And now I'm working at CFIA again, so I'm back to Workplace Zero. And it's like, oh, I really miss it. So I think we just need to do tours. People just need to see what it's like over at Workplace 2.0, and then they'll start to like it. I think the idea really scares them, because once I pitched it to my manager too on my first day, she's like, no, we're moving to Outlook and we're already having like a mass panic attack here. So yeah, so I think it's just that, like, everyone just needs to see how it is, and it's not as bad as what you're expecting.
Yeah. Amazing. Are there any other
Thank you for that.
comments? Because I might pass it off to Mark, who's the RDG from Quebec region.
I have 2 more.
So 2 more. Perfect.
3 more.
3 more. Okay.
So I'm Ishan, working with Real Property Services. So the comment that we got from our table is really the Workplace 2.0 initiative has been gone too slow, and there are too much regional and branch discrepancies, at least within public works. Outside of public services, of course, there are even worse discrepancies between departments. I think the consensus at our table is that everybody wants it, but just the speed that we're getting it, if we're keeping this speed, we're going to get it in 25 years. That being said, I think also personally, having worked at D&D for 14 months, I think the IT side of things has to catch up as well. We might have new workstations, but we don't have laptop, we don't have Wi-Fi, we still have to wiring the workstations, a lot of costs for pretty much no good reason, because we're going to have to move to Wi-Fi anyway. It's very frustrating, because if you don't have access to remote work and you happen to be on telework arrangement, you can't really work. So that's one thing. And the second thing is potentially having inherited the workplace fitness policy and now switching to Jason, potentially we need to incorporate, or at least explore, the possibility of incorporating activity rooms at workplace. I know it costs money. I know it's not free. I know it's probably against Treasury Board policies where department has to sponsor the program, but this actually ties into the topic number 2, well-being and mental health. If we don't think about the mental health of our employees, then what kind of organization are we? Well, maybe not necessarily the program, but at least provide some kind of space that the employee can self-organize and self-manage activities within the workplace.
Hi there, Nian Gosselin with CIO Branch. I'm going to, off the record, recommend that people not wait for middle management or upper management to implement things, okay? A lot of times people get drowning in operations. They don't have time to implement stuff. And when you are drowning, people tend to default to looking for permission from above them, including middle management. So do the homework yourself. Figure out, it's instead of saying, how do I get VPN, go figure out what you need, bring it to them and say, here, I need this approved. And just like throw it at the wall and see if it sticks. In our group.
That's how I got it done.
Right? And I did the same. And link to policies that give them their defense and say, here's what defends your position on this. Here's what gives you permission, instead of expecting them to go and figure out, am I allowed? What do I have to do? Do it for them, and that will get it moving. Trust me, we've done it over and over and over again. We're not in Workplace 2.0 yet. We have tons of people teleworking completely spontaneously, VPN access. You'll often see me cross-legged outside of a meeting room because I don't have time between meetings to get back to my desk. We don't care where we are. And I tell my staff, I don't need to see your face. Like, it's great when I do, but are you getting me what I need? That's all I care about. Let me know where you are, what you're working on, and just start throwing that at the wall and see where it takes some traction.
I'm not saying that I can change your manager's mind, but I'm actually the senior policy analyst on the activity workplace solutions team. So if you do need help finding policy references and whatnot, feel free to shoot me an email and I'll do what I can to help
He
you.
will eventually get back to you.
Yeah,
There might be a slight delay, but he will get back to you.
Something like that, yeah. But if I can help, I'd be happy to.
Perfect.
Hi, Michelle from the communications branch. So I was sharing with my my members here of the table. So in our branch, my group specifically, my director actually did the gung ho move and was like, we're going to implement a telework pilot project, because in communications branch, it's 100% busy all the time, and there is some resistance from our upper management about doing telework, but my director kind of changed the mood a little bit about it and was like, you know what, why don't we test it out? Because we knew a little bit about ABW and workplace renewal because we are helping out with the communications for it. So she's like, well, in preparation for this to happen here in the NCR, why don't we test it out and see how it goes? So what happened was our director literally at a meeting one day, the 30 employees presented us with a plan and said, here's what I'm proposing. Are you guys okay with it? I'm giving you guys a month to prepare and we'll test it out and see. And I think all of us, our first reaction was, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. But I think now, when we started this in November, and so it's about 6 months, and everyone who has been participating in it, I telework twice a week from home, has been fantastic. We have seen a lot of improvement, especially from a well-being perspective. Just working from home, being able to work on our stuff. I can work in my PJs, which I love. I can sleep in the extra hour. I don't have to make my trek the 20 minutes to go to work on this bus or anything like that. We have seen some kinks, obviously. Like I was telling my the members here, especially when it comes to meetings, because we are very client-based oriented services. So when we are trying to schedule meetings with clients and stuff like that, sometimes there's some discrepancies, or if we know we have to do the face-to-face meetings and stuff, sometimes we have to come in, but we actually share desk. So it's like if someone's already at the desk that we're supposed to be on that day that we are working, we have to find alternate arrangements. So we're slowly working it out. And I think because our directorate in the communications branch kind of did this pilot project, I'm noticing that the other groups in the communications branch have spoken up to their upper management and was like, hey guys, we've noticed this group's doing it, why can't we? And I think there has been a lot of communications in that sense that our upper management in the communications branch is more open to it because this pilot project was done. So just wanted to kind of share, definitely speak up about it if you guys want to get it happening.
Thank you.
Mark, I don't want to put you on the spot. Would you like to say a couple words?
Thank you. Actually, I'd love to say a couple words. I'll try to keep it brief, but
Try and keep it short.
no, it's my favorite topic. But no, first of all, I just want to say a couple years ago we had the same discussion, and it was a different discussion. And so just the network has evolved, and it's really, really encouraging to hear all of the different comments. And people are taking it from a different angle. But I'm going to toot my own horn, our own horn a little bit. We're all from the Quebec region here. We have about 600 employees, and 83% of the positions are identified to be okay for telework. That doesn't mean that it's an automatic right, because it has to be linked to performance. But there's certainly a right to ask for it. If you're looking at ammo to go to your manager with and to talk about it, first of all, the department is encouraging it, but the Liberal platform actually has a section on telework. So you can go, it's part of the new government's platform to be able to encourage federal employees. What I didn't hear here, and I think we have to talk about a lot more, especially as the Vanguard Network, is the environmental component to this. There's work being done right now at the Treasury Board Secretariat on greening government buildings and trying to identify how we measure the reduction of carbon emissions to be able to attain our targets under the Paris Accord. But there's a lot of work that's not done that needs to be done. We need to keep pushing this. One of them is when you're going to an activity-based workplace, you're reducing your footprint. And I apologize to everybody who's heard this before, but in Montreal, we're at 18 square meters per employee right now. Workplace 2.0 would be 14. We're going to be at 12. So when you think that buildings are a significant source of greenhouse gases, there's an environmental component. Not to mention the fact if you're fitting up fewer square meters, you're using fewer planetary resources. On top of that, when you include more working from home and remote working, well then there's less pressure on public transit and fewer greenhouse gas emissions. So this, in my opinion, needs to be pushed as one of the motivators for this. So I would encourage you all to include the environmental component in your rhetoric as you're promoting this. The other thing I'd say with regards to the comment on middle managers, and I heard it in our region as well, what we did is I started teleworking, and I forced all the directors to telework a bit, and then I met with the management team at all levels, and I basically told them, you don't have a choice. And somebody said, yeah, but if I don't see my employee, I don't know if they're really working. And I said, you're an incompetent manager, because if you don't know what they're doing at the end of the day, if they're sitting in the office and you're somehow comfortable with yourself because you see them, well, you're incompetent. You should be knowing what they're doing, and if they're good performers, you can monitor their performance from home or from anywhere. So, I wouldn't be afraid to be blunt. I love the comment, throw it up against the wall and see what happens. Here, kind of, get on board. So I think that this network needs to continue to do exactly what you're doing. What we're doing is to keep pushing and looking towards the future, but I think there's just tremendous opportunity. So you guys know in Montreal, in January, we're moving in. So we'll see if there's going to be kinks. And now I'm talking about all the kinks that could happen, but it shouldn't stop us from moving forward. So anyways, I just wanted to say just how great it is to hear all the different comments. Folks I've never met, but you guys are really, I think, positioning the network well, and I would continue to encourage you to lead in your organization, because it's the wave of the future. Merci.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and more than 2.0. I think we also. I hear some people saying, "Well, yeah. I wanted 2.0, but some of the folks don't like it." We have to acknowledge it. We adopted 2.0 in 2012 in a budget reduction measure. So basically what we did is we switched to smaller office spaces without technology. In a lot of cases, we had collab space where nobody actually used it, and then they went in and added cubicles, so you're just more jammed, So it was sold a certain way, and the expectations weren't met, so it kind of got a bad reputation. But I think everybody would agree the new environment and where the government is investing a lot more. So it's not perfect, but it's a lot better. So now it comes with Wi-Fi. I don't know about activity rooms, but it comes with Wi-Fi and a lot of bells and whistles that we need to make it work. So I'm done. Sorry, how long was that? I don't know.
That was actually a lot better than the AGA that we had. So Kudos to you on that one.
So one last point. No, I'm just
Perfect. Nick, I know you want to speak, but I do want to kind of get around to the other topics. So on va changer de sujet. On va aller avec le deuxième sujet. Je sais que tout le monde en a entendu à nauser par rapport à la santé mentale et le bien-être, mais c'est vraiment important qu'on en parle. Donc, si vous avez des commentaires, encore si vous voulez partager vos expériences personnelles, c'est complètement à vous, ne vous sentez pas obligé. But y a-t-il quelqu'un qui veut en parler?
I'm Jessica, and I work in the acquisitions branch. I was just going to say about mental health, I think for me, what I see is it also comes down to middle management. I know that it's a priority at the top of government right now, and there's a lot of initiatives being pushed forwards, a lot of governance committees on mental health and what we're going to do, but at the end of the day, it doesn't always translate all the way down the line. Like my table here, all my colleagues are students, and they weren't even aware of any of the programs that our department offers. And I know right now it's part of our minister's mandate is mental health and pushing it, and there's lots of governance committees and things that are going on, but if it doesn't get translated all the way down the line, and if middle managers aren't bringing it up and making it a priority because they have all these other competing priorities, what's the point of doing it up at the top? It then just becomes political fluff or whatever you want to call it. So I don't know, I find that both with workplace modernization and mental health, there's a disconnect between the working level and upper management.
So I think I agree completely with what you're saying. And also we just have to increase the awareness of what mental health entails just across teams, across departments, and making it more of a conversation that you feel free to have with your managers, with your coworkers, with people who aren't on your team to say, you know what, I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but I am. Not waiting until it gets to the point where you feel like you can't come to work or you're having a really tough time. I think that just needs to be made more of an accessible thing. I mean, you should be able to go to your manager with these types of issues and not feel like you're going to be reprimanded for them in any sense, that you're going to have, you're not going to be given certain projects, or your workload's going to be reduced, or you're not going to be taken seriously. That just has to be something that goes beyond. I mean, I just went through a whole bunch of online training because I just started, and that's not enough. Mm-hmm. It's not enough to have like a 25-minute online click through all these modules to learn all there is about mental health in the workspace, because that's not the end of the conversation. And that ties in to Workplace 2.0. It's all about increasing well-being and making workers happier and making them feel like they like what they do and they can connect it back to their life instead of it being this totally separate black cloud. Cubicle life is really soul-sucking, and I think that we just have to break down the silos all across the board and tie everything together. So that just has to come from the bottom up and the top down. It has to kind of just merge and be something that we feel as young people, as older people, whatever position you occupy, it has to be something that you feel free to be able to express and get help with.
That's great. Is there anybody?
Hi, my name's Brianna. I'm also from the Pay Center Miramichi. And one thing that we had talked about back there was that it should be a mandatory training for anyone going through management as well. Mm-hmm. It's recommended in a lot of places, but it should be something that's mandatory, because team leads and managers are also supposed to be people managers. They're supposed to help you. They're helping your team's morale. They're the people that you will go to for help for things. And like, I know there's a fantastic course that a couple of us went to. There's actually a mental health first aid course. And it's a 2-day course, and it's fantastic. And it's put on by, I think, like the Mental Health Agency of Canada. And like, it's awesome, and it's something that we had to fight to even send 3 people to. And stuff like that should be more readily available and should be more mandatory to spread awareness even. Because we talk about it, but we talk about it on like Mental Health Awareness Day or month and then forget about it. So a lot of people don't know. And also, when mental health is high, people are more productive, people are more active. You have, like, everything's better. If there's low mental health, there's low productivity. And there's a big connection. There's more absences. There's so many connections to so many different parts. And it should be a lot more central, I think, in what we're looking at.
Definitely. And I'm going to throw like an actually recent experience that I had regarding mental health without using names. So there was somebody on a team that I work with who I could visibly like tell that something wasn't necessarily right. And I didn't approach her. I mean, you know, I'm a fairly open person. I'm fairly easy to talk to. So I left the door open and I said, you know, if you need to come and talk to someone, by all means, you know where to find me. And then the other day, my manager actually pulled me into his office and said, you know, I'm actually going to give you a lot of the tasking that this person was holding on to. And when I went to speak to that other person for something completely unrelated afterwards, we got to the discussion about, you know, this extra tasking that I had been given by our manager. And she seemed genuinely afraid that I actually knew like what was going on. And, you know, she was like, oh, what did he say? And I was like, listen, what's between you and the manager is between you and the manager. All I need to know is, you know, what do you need of me? How can I help? It's about acknowledgement and communicating with people. And I think it's really like, it's the most basic thing, but I think for a lot of people that is still the hardest thing to do, is to acknowledge and communicate that there is an issue and you do need help, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I know that we hear it all the time, but it really is the simplest act. So when I was talking with my coworker the other day and she seemed genuinely like afraid of what I was gonna say that my manager had told me, like it kind of like, I was sad for her because it shouldn't be like that, right? It should be easy to go up to your manager and say, hey, I need help. Can we, you know, work something out or something like that? And you shouldn't fear, you know, repercussions or anything like that, be it decreased workloads or like it didn't make sense to me, like does not compute, right? So yeah, just communicate and acknowledge. I think at the end of the day, that's all people are really asking for. And it doesn't have to be much more than that. Now, I'm gonna throw a question. How many of you are aware of the resources that are available at PSPC? So there are some huge gaps, which is problematic. So I will make a note of that. There are tons of resources available. I encourage you to check the intranet. Everything is listed there under services. At the same time, if you don't know where to get those services or where to find them, by all means, send us an email at Vanguard. We have ins with literally every group in the department, so we can find a contact person for you. That's just my word on that. Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to touch on regarding mental health and well-being? No? Yes? No? All right. Topic 3, discrimination in the workplace, which is closely linked to mental health and well-being, but still very distinct. Again, I would ask that you be respectful in the opinions that you guys express, but we definitely want to give you guys all the opportunity to say something if there is something to be said. Sure.
So you're just mentioning the link between the mental health and discrimination. So one of the points they're being linked is fear of actually addressing a discrimination issue with somebody that is at a higher level because you'd be worried about what the view of you would be if you bring it up and how that could affect your career.
Mm-hmm.
Ben, je parle en français, fait que désolée pour
non,
les autres.
Non, il n'y a pas de quoi.
Ben, dans le fond aussi, je pense qu'il y a aussi un problème pour le niveau... La discrimination, c'est pas obligé d'être explicite puis brutale, comme ça peut être vraiment plus insidieux que ça. Puis je pense que là-dessus, il manque peut-être de conscientisation. Tu sais, comme, ben, je sais pas pour les filles qui travaillent ici, là, mais des commentaires de mon oncle qu'on en a eu, puis comme, ça devrait pas être normal. Je pense qu'il y a encore un changement dans la culture qu'il y a à faire, puis tu sais, c'est pas juste pour les femmes, c'est pour peut-être d'autres types de minorités. Je considère que faut pas attendre qu'il y ait quelque chose de grave ou que là, on a comme atteint une limite qu'il faut parler. Je pense qu'il faut que ça arrive avant, en fait, puis je pense qu'il faut que ça change dans les mentalités aussi avant. C'est tout.
Everybody understand the point that she was making. So what she was basically saying is that acts of discrimination are not necessarily explicitly like obvious, right? They might be subversive, you might not notice them. It's generally tied to language, that's the biggest one. So you know, I apologize for this, but when you say things like boys will be boys, right? That's a problematic statement in the sense that you're excusing the fact that what he's doing is wrong, but because he's a man, it's okay. It's not, because if you were to flip it to a female doing it, would be completely unacceptable, right? So it's acknowledging that there are subversive ways that discrimination does present itself in the workplace, in your daily lives. Yeah, that was basically the point that was being made with that discussion there.
So I don't know how many of you have had to deal with discrimination in their workplace, but what I've noticed about this issue is that most of the time, the most simple solution when you're being discriminated is to change jobs. And I think, I don't know, because what I had to deal with was like years ago. I don't know if solutions have been developed, but I've changed jobs. And we need to develop tools, and I don't know what else we should do, but it's something very serious that can affect anybody at any level and any department or agency, and we need to do something about this. It's obvious.
Nous, ici, on avait discuté un peu qu'il manquait beaucoup de diversité au niveau des cadres. Donc, manque autochtones, handicapés, minorités visibles. C'est un gros manque au niveau de la fonction publique. Donc, c'est vraiment ce qu'on a remarqué. On a un deuxième petit point.
En fait, je pense qu'il n'y a pas beaucoup de monde qui ont pensé. Mais ici, autour de la table, on a parlé de discrimination plus inconsciente par les médias sociaux aussi qui pouvaient être faites au niveau lors des processus de dotation. Donc souvent, on va aller voir sur LinkedIn, sur Facebook, c'est que les personnes, puis inconsciemment, on se fait une idée de l'individu qu'on va rencontrer. Fait que je pense que c'est quelque chose qu'il faut adresser au niveau de nos collègues dans les processus de dotation, de faire attention pour ne pas utiliser justement les médias sociaux en effet, pour ne pas faire de la discrimination, finalement.
I think it's on. Yep. Nous, ici, on avait discuté de la discrimination par rapport aux francophones. Et le gouvernement, comme c'est un milieu bilingue, mais on peut aussi remarquer que l'anglais domine. Et puis, on avait aussi soulevé le point que, par exemple, les francophones, ils doivent absolument être bilingues et apprendre à parler anglais et maîtriser l'anglais comme langue seconde pour pouvoir atteindre des positions supérieures dans la fonction publique. Tandis que les anglophones, eux, ils peuvent juste savoir dire allô, bonjour, passer un examen, mais pas être fonctionnel au niveau du français et quand même avoir une belle carrière. Mais de l'autre côté, c'est pas faisable.
Really good point. Je suis comme, wow, ouais, OK. Non, mais tu sais, c'est quelque chose que moi aussi j'ai réalisé, tu sais, quand je me suis joint à ma nouvelle équipe. Puis, tu sais, je fais de la communication comme c'est là, pas dans la direction générale des communications, mais je fais de la communication. C'est ça, mon gestionnaire m'a demandé, tu sais, t'écris-tu en anglais, t'écris-tu en français? Puis j'ai dit, je préfère écrire en français. Je me sens plus fort, écrire en français, puis je traduis vers l'anglais par la suite. Beside himself. Comme, comprenait pas, does not compute. Et t'es comme, t'essaies de me dire qu'il y a quelqu'un qui est bilingue, parfaitement, qui préfère écrire en français en premier, puis là, traduire vers l'anglais. Comme, il me croyait pas. J'étais comme, c'est pas difficile à comprendre. Tu sais, j'ai fait toute mon éducation en français, c'est ma langue première. So, je vais m'en servir parce que c'est un atout. Puis là, l'anglais, je m'excuse, mais pour ceux qui ont grandi en Ontario en français, ça s'attrape comme un virus. Tu sais, comme... So, j'ai vraiment pas eu de difficultés, donc c'est pour ça que j'ai vraiment maîtrisé ma langue française. So, j'ai trouvé ça vraiment weird, avoir cette conversation-là avec mon gestionnaire, étant comme, oui, tu préfères écrire en français? Comme, oui, tu sais. So.
Juste pour ajouter, moi, je suis une étudiante coop. Donc, pendant, dans le fond, ma formation, j'ai eu la chance d'aller dans plusieurs réunions. Et puis, j'avais même remarqué que la plupart des réunions, ils se font en anglais, comme il n'y a pas beaucoup de réunions en français, vu que la plupart des gestionnaires sont anglophones. Donc, c'est vraiment aussi ce côté-là, comme j'ai la chance d'être bilingue, d'être confortable dans les deux langues. Mais j'imagine pour quelqu'un qui vient de rentrer, un francophone, qui est déterminé à acquérir des positions supérieures, ça peut être une grande barrière de rentrer dans un environnement professionnel où est-ce que le sujet de conversation se fait uniquement en anglais. La personne peut se sentir un peu dévalorisée, un peu à part.
Merci beaucoup. Ouh. Marc, il y a de quoi dire. Oh boy!
Je suis désolé, j'ai de la misère à résister, mais c'est tellement des super bons sujets. Donc, non, je veux juste faire du pouce sur ce qui a été dit parce que c'est un enjeu. C'est drôle, à l'inverse, à la région du Québec, tout se fait en français. Puis, des fois, il y a un peu de pushback quand ça vient de... quand on envoie des documents, c'est de ben est-ce que c'est possible de les avoir en anglais? Puis moi, j'ai parlé au sous-ministre délégué, Leslyn Cladder, quand il rentre en poste, j'ai dit... En ce moment, moi, je n'ai pas de capacité d'écrire en anglais. Donc, tout se fait en français. Es-tu à l'aise? Absolument, absolument. On ne parle pas assez en français. Au niveau du leadership du ministère, je peux vous assurer qu'on veut encourager le français. Moi, je pense que, honnêtement, il y a une question de leadership personnel là-dedans, puis de courage. Puis c'est plate, là, mais quand tu es dans une situation minoritaire, c'est à toi de décider si tu vas t'assumer puis t'exprimer dans ta langue ou si tu vas, selon le besoin, en parlant en anglais. Puis, tu sais, pas besoin d'être fanatique par rapport à ça. Mais dans le folklore, en tout cas, je parle du Québec parce que je ne peux pas représenter la francophonie ontarienne ou canadienne, mais au Québec, on entendait souvent le folklore des années 50, pré-révolution tranquille, où est-ce que tu avais 9 francophones autour de la table à Montréal, puis un anglophone, puis le switch. Là, tout d'un coup, tous les francophones devaient parler en anglais. Mais mon expérience ici à Gatineau, puis à Ottawa, c'est que c'est souvent le cas. Puis c'est les francophones eux-mêmes qui décident de parler en anglais. Et donc, moi, je pense qu'il y a une question, là, c'est un enjeu, mais une question de s'assumer aussi, puis de s'en servir de sa langue, puis de tout simplement, avec respect. Mais c'est pas si... Le portrait que pour moi, le portrait n'est pas si négatif que ça, mais il y a une question, puis je sais qu'il y a une question d'engagement personnel pour moi là-dedans, quand on parle de la langue. Pour revenir sur la discrimination, très rapidement aussi, parce qu'on parle homme-femme, des fois, 60% des employés du ministère, c'est des femmes. Mais quand on regarde la fonction publique au niveau de la haute gestion, il y a encore une majorité d'hommes. Ça change, puis ça va changer. Fait que je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de progrès. Peut-être qu'on devrait encore faire du progrès pour promouvoir des femmes, mais les minorités visibles, puis les Autochtones, puis les personnes handicapées, bien, sont drôlement sous-représentées. Le gouvernement ne représente, puis le greffier en a parlé, le gouvernement ne représente pas, en fait, la population canadienne d'aujourd'hui. Peut-être des années 70, mais pas d'aujourd'hui. Puis c'est qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire pour changer ça? Puis je vous lance, pour les gestionnaires ici, je vous lance une initiative qui vient du Royaume-Uni, puis puis vous en avez peut-être entendu parler parce qu'on va le tester au ministère. Mais essentiellement, c'est d'enlever les noms des entrevues. Parce que souvent, on a tendance, je pense, à se rassembler avec les gens qui nous ressemblent. puis inconsciemment. Fait qu'il y a de la discrimination qui se fait de façon inconsciente. Puis, en enlevant les noms, ben, on peut vraiment évaluer les candidats ou les candidates selon le mérite. Donc, tu n'es pas obligé de t'appeler, tu sais, là, David Tremblay ou Mark Quinlan, ou un nom associé à la France ou l'Angleterre. Là, on a une population qui est très diverse maintenant, mais il y a encore, je pense, beaucoup de discrimination. Puis ça se fait au niveau, c'est vraiment, je pense, inconscient. C'est pas de mauvaise foi, mais ça se fait. Donc, en enlevant les noms, je pense qu'on va pouvoir faire du progrès. Mais pour moi, quand on parle de discrimination, on devrait se concentrer sur certains éléments puis regarder les statistiques. Fait que pour moi, c'est plus de femmes cadres puis plus de diversité en général. Ben, merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Allô? OK. Ben justement, peut-être je connais pas les statistiques pour être honnête, mais justement, peut-être d'expérience personnelle, il y a peut-être un écart entre ce qui se passe dans le milieu du travail. Dans le fond, moi, je suis dans un poste comme en tant que stagiaire. Puis, je me suis rapidement retrouvée dans une équipe qui était majoritairement anglophone, mais qui me permettait de parler français, puis aussi de parler avec eux. Je voyais qu'ils faisaient des efforts aussi pour s'adapter avec moi. Mais j'ai vu aussi, en même temps, que c'est comme ajouter naturellement à mes tâches le poste de traduction. Comme, c'est pas, ça me fait plaisir d'aider mon équipe, puis si je peux mettre mon grain de sel puis les aider, ça va me faire plaisir. Mais en même temps, je me sens comme si, par défaut, en étant francophone, j'avais peut-être pas les fonctions que je serais censée avoir, dans le fond. Comme je m'éloigne un peu du poste que j'étais censée avoir. Ça me fait plaisir de pouvoir les aider, mais en même temps, ça devrait pas être t'es francophone, automatiquement, tout ce qui est censé être en français, c'est toi qui vas l'écrire. Je pense qu'il y a moyen de travailler ensemble, mais pas que ça soit juste un côté qui fasse le gros de la traduction. Je sais pas comment le dire.
Yeah, of course.
I also want to make, I work with colleagues from the other regions, right? And I just want to react, but because we're talking about, sometimes how hard it is for Francophones to be able to work in French in the federal government, their government, right? But we also, let's not forget that there's been a lot of progress, and it also adds a burden to Anglophones, especially, and if you grew up in Ottawa, it's pretty easy to become bilingual. If you're an Anglophone coming from Montreal or something, it's pretty easy to pick it up. But if you're from Red Deer, Alberta, it's pretty tough to, although Alberta has a fantastic French immersion program, but if your parents didn't put you into that program, all of a sudden, if you want to become an EX, because people were saying before, Francophones need to be bilingual, Anglophones don't, but that's not quite true. A lot of Anglophone directors don't use their French, but they've had to demonstrate a significant ability in French to be able to get the position. And that's tough for a lot of people who are, I don't know, I've tried to learn Spanish and it was tough because I wasn't immersed in it. And, I put myself in the shoes of some of these folks and it's really career limiting. So I think we have to look at it when you're having this discussion. It's very sensitive, but it's not one-sided. In my opinion, it's not like poor Francophones, or there's poor Anglophones, there's poor Francophones, and it depends on the luck of the draw. So, it's Chris, right? Martin, sorry. I'll call you Chris. No, is it Martin or Martin? C'est Martin, Marty. Right. Mais, like you say, you're Franco-Ontarian, so you picked it up easily, right? Yep. So, and I'm from Quebec, but I'm like a bastard child. My one parent is Anglophone, the other is Francophone. Mm-hmm. We have no merit, really. But think about those folks that have to learn. So we have folks in Quebec City that don't speak a word of English, never talk English in their work. So they want to become directors. It's as tough for them as the folks in other parts of the country. So I'm just reminding us of that because we're talking and it sounds one-sided. I'm putting myself in the shoes of other Anglophones in the room, and it seems like I think there should be sensibility to go around. It's not easy. That's the tough thing about Canada. I'm done preaching.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other comments before we move on to the final topic? Nope. Okay. So topic 4, innovation, strategy, and communication, which is largely speaking the topic of the forum. Now I know that a lot of people are probably going to have a lot of things to say about this, so I encourage you to speak up and say something, because I do actually want to hear what you guys have to say. Joanna.
I'm Joanna from the Parliamentary Precinct Branch, and one thing that our table discussed is that often when you have an idea or a proposed solution, a lot of senior management has a quote-unquote open door policy, which sounds all well and good, but in reality, if you actually make use of it, sometimes the question is begged, why didn't you go through the regular channels? Did you have your director's approval for this? So I'm just wondering, like, how do you achieve a balance and the right approach to pushing forward your ideas?
Well, you come to the Lion's Den every fall. Marcy? Oh.
Hi, my name is Isabel from RP. So we fortunately have an ADM that does have an open door policy, and we can go to him, but often the problem is he's all on board, but it's getting that buy-in at the middle management that they don't always buy in, and we were talking, there's almost a disconnect between the two that, we have the support from the DM minister, they're communicating that, however, how do we get our directors, our DGs, because sometimes that's where we have the issues, is to move stuff forward.
I think you're on already.
And I'm just going to add to that really, really quickly. I'm in real property branch as well, and it's great. Our ADM has a truly open door policy, but sometimes I've heard when people take advantage of that, the people between the individual and the ADM aren't so happy and don't necessarily feel that it's appropriate that the individual takes advantage of the open door policy. So it's tough sometimes. That there are certain individuals and organizations that try to make an extra special effort to foster innovation and sharing of ideas and to break down barriers, but then you have others that just kind of put the walls higher.
So I work in compensation, and all the time we're measured by our performance. We're measured on how many cases we do in a week and how our production and whatnot. And sometimes we feel like I try to find solutions. Like, I see a problem, I think of a solution, I'll approach and say, hey, I think this is a great idea, let's do this. But I don't feel that it's brought forth then to the management meetings, and I don't know how to measure that. Like, I feel at a standstill because I want to implement some ideas, and I take the initiative and say, this is what I did. And this is what worked. And my team now has come to me and say, how did you do that again? And so I'll tell them how I did it. But then I feel as a whole, because we're in the state that we're in, that it needs to be distributed at a different level and it needs to be discussed more. And so then we're all on the same page. So everyone's working as a team, as a whole. I mean, you have 700 employees working on one roof, and everyone's trying their own way of working and how it works for them, and it needs to be at a different level now. And then where we're constantly being measured, like our PLPs, I often think then, how do they get measured, the TLs? I feel that their manager needs to come to us and say, were you listened to? There's no, they have their input on us, and I always get a really good performance, but I've had various TLs, and I've had really great ones, and I had some that didn't listen or didn't respond back to me, and I felt like, oof, I need a change, I need to move forth, so I will see an opportunity and I'll switch teams rather than dealing with the situation, because then it's like going to their manager who's a senior manager. So I feel like they should be measured at a different level within the teams. Like, have a survey, how is your manager? Mm-hmm. Get our pulse check on them for their evaluations and performances. That's just my opinion, though.
Hi, I'm Gabrielle from the Project Management Service Line. So my comment has to do a bit more with technology itself and innovation. I feel like we're outsourcing a lot, whether it be to other teams within the government itself or to private consultants. Let's say we had a problem And through my school training, I knew how to solve it. I just needed certain technology. The comment that I got back was, oh no, you can't do that. It's somebody else's responsibility in another branch. It might take more time, even though we need it now, but you're not allowed to do that. If not, we'll just hire a private consultant. So that's, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of useless.
Yeah. No, and that makes total sense. Like, to give you another example, I was mentioning that I do a lot of communication for the team that I work on, and much like the lady who spoke earlier, I do a lot of translation as the token French person on my team. So I went to my director's EA and I said, you know, I would like to get Ansidat because everything has to go up a certain level. It took a week to get a piece of software that, and I did the homework. I looked, and like, we already have the licenses, so they're there, but they still wanted us to submit the form with CIOB, have it approved, flip it back to the EA, who then submits the OSRO, that gets sent to SSC, that then tells me I can install it. It took me a week for a piece of software that I can buy off the shelf for less than $100. So, like, yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah. No, and I don't want it to come across as though it's like an issue with you, but it's the bureaucracy behind it. I'm like, does it really have to take this long to get something that the department already has access to, right? So, yeah.
I have another example. We were trying to get a document signed and going on all paperless and trying to reduce the printed copies of it. Yeah. So we wanted to do the electronic signature. Mm-hmm. Problem with Word was that we couldn't do more than 3 signatures without the document blocking. And as most of you know, every government document needs about 6 or 7 signatures. So we decided to go through GC Docs. So to get one paper signed that was completed for a document that was done in 2 days, it took me 3 weeks to get a file structure. So by that point, it was a bit too late.
Wow.
We have the technology, but it's just putting it to use is taking it too much time. Trying to follow all these procedures is kind of ridiculous when they could be cut down in half or even more than that.
Nick, just to continue on Gabriel's point, so I did it for a PPV. So now electronic signature is there. So I think it's a small change to do with innovation. It took a lot of time to get DGs, ADMs, directors involved to get to that point. But now we don't have to run with papers, go like through LEL to another shops. We don't have to go around. It can be done in an hour to get like 6, 7 signature done. So I think innovation is feasible. It's not always easy, but don't give up. On innovation, like another point that I find, sometimes we're trying to ask supervisor, manager for permissions. I find a lot of times it's finding allies, colleagues that we work together to try to push an idea together that we're going to start using in Excel that's way more efficient for us. And why ask permission when you can do something that's going to make your work easier? That's my take.
I feel like another issue too, like in terms of innovation, like it's that word that everybody hears and it's plastered all over the place. So, and like it's become synonymous with the notions of change, and then with everything that the government has tried to change, even PSPC specifically recently, transformation-wise and stuff like that, we've seen that, you know, there have been issues, and consistently there seem to be issues. So people become afraid of words like innovation and transformation and change management and stuff like that. And so we become averse to the idea of innovation as a whole, like completely disregarding the benefits to our work and the organization for the work that we do if it is actually successful. And unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, but Graham Flack, who is actually running the Canada 150 Secretariat at Heritage Canada at Career Boot Camp, actually used one of my favorite quotes ever, and for those of you who've come by my cubicle, you've seen it. Risk-free innovation is like calorie-free poutine. It doesn't exist, right? It'd be nice if it did. Like 100% I would be eating poutine every single day if that was the case. But it's that same notion that just because, you know, we've had issues in the past and they seem to be fraught with problems at times, doesn't mean we don't still try to do it, because there is a benefit. You either figure that it ends up working, or, you know, it doesn't work, you end up failing, but there's a lesson to be taken out of that, and that's what you use to keep innovating and keep pushing forward, right? Does that make sense? Right. Are there any other comments or any of the topics at this point? Open floor if you guys have anything you want to say last minute before I send it back over to our lovely MCs. Nope, that's it. All right. Well, thank you everybody for your comments. Please leave your sheets on your tables. We will be taking those back. That way we can kind of do a postmortem with Vanguard and bring that up to the appropriate people.
Somebody left their phone up here? Oh, okay. Thanks. So we just want to thank everyone for coming today. Thank all the panelists, all the keynote speakers who came and spoke. You know, it was very engaging, very interesting. We want to encourage you to keep up with your innovative ideas, keep pushing for new change in your workplace. You know, don't it's just because someone says no, it doesn't mean the door is closed. You know, change your message a little bit, like Samantha Nutt said earlier. Change your message, try to go a different route. Just try different ways. I also want to remind everyone there's a social mixer happening after. You can still register on Eventbrite till 6 p.m. So hope to see you guys there. It'll be pretty fun.
Away at the door. So by all means, please come, have fun. I am absolutely exhausted, but I will be there myself. So please drop by and keep me entertained, because otherwise I'm going to collapse.
Oh, okay. J'aimerais juste prendre aussi l'opportunité de dire merci à l'exécutif, donc à Tantram qui est ici, puis à Jessica et à Martin. Oui, ils le méritent. Merci. Et merci aussi à vous d'être restés jusqu'à 4h30 avec nous.
So that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. It's fine.
Right, I think we are all tired.
Yeah, I know. I know. Are you going to the mixer? Yeah? No, I can't.